All right, what's going on, y'all? I just finished up hitting a pretty solid push day today. Just knocked out some chest, shoulders, and tries. I'm actually working with a new split right now that I'm testing out. So probably in the next 2 weeks, I'll go ahead and drop that for y'all. So far, it's working out pretty killer, and I've never done one quite like this. It's a 5-day split, and it's pretty awesome so far. So today, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all kind of a different type of video, more of a casual discussion on answering a question that I've gotten quite often over the years, and that's my thoughts on alcohol and weed, specifically with bodybuilding, but I'm also going to talk to y'all my thoughts just as a whole, bodybuilding and life. I've got extensive experience with both drinking and smoking, so I'll kind of tell y'all my viewpoints on both, because I do have different opinions on either one. So first off, with alcohol, I started drinking when I was in college. I went to Mississippi State, so Southern school. So when I was not, bouncing on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, I was out drinking, partying like most typical college students. And then after college, I was a firefighter paramedic. So I worked a 24, 48 shift. So, I was on for 24 hours and then off for 48 hours. So in that 48 hours off, I was typically having, at least a couple drinks each day, unless I was going over to, a party or something like that. And then it was even more. And then that carried on through even my time as an ultra runner. In the running community, especially the endurance running community, like marathon runners, ultra marathon runners, drinking is a pretty common thing. You get back from a run, you crack open a beer. So pretty much every day I was having a drink or two. I was rarely ever getting drunk. I grew out of the getting drunk phase shortly after college, and didn't really enjoy getting drunk, but I enjoyed, having a couple drinks, or, catching a little buzz. So I would get back, have a couple beers, or, finish off the night with a glass of whiskey. And I went through a period of time where I loved whiskey. So during that time, especially when I was, going hybrid, so I was really trying to increase my performance with both runs and with the gym. My entire life, I was trying to get, really, really good six-pack. And I had abs, but I could never get that crispy six-pack with the deep lines that you would see with bodybuilders or, fitness models. And I could never really figure it out. I was, eating really clean, tracking my calories, all of that, and could never really get the deep lines. I kind of figured it might have something to do with alcohol. Even though I was only having, a drink or two a day, or even every couple days, I figured it might be impacted from the alcohol. So I went ahead and did an experiment for 3 weeks to a month where I cut out alcohol. And literally within like 2 weeks, the deep lines came out. I had the best six-pack I had ever had in my life, and the only change was alcohol. So that carried over. So not only, with your physique, but I'm sure you can see this with people that drink versus people that don't. Even people that only have a couple drinks per week, a lot of times their cheeks are just fuller and look puffier than those that don't. And that was another thing. My face improved very, very quickly when I stopped drinking. So drinking for me just phased out naturally. It wasn't something that I had a big come to Jesus meeting and, I had a problem with it and really had to cut it out. It was more of, I just saw that it was not helping me, and didn't like what it did for my physique. So on the bodybuilding side, most pros I know don't drink. They might have, a celebratory drink, after a big show each year, which I also don't agree with that, because you're in such a unhealthy state after competing. But some do. But it's really like, maybe once a year for most pros. Drinking will not help your goals on the bodybuilding side, or even fitness side as a whole. So even for the runners out there, even having, a couple drinks each day, you might not be hungover, but that extra bloat, all of that is just not going to help you. And it can inhibit gains. There's studies out there that it will inhibit gains a little bit. But I do have clients that, they do want to have a couple drinks per week. And so we do work that into the plan. I don't recommend it for most people, but you can work it into your plan. Now on the life side, there's a lot of people out there that struggle with drinking, and their personalities do really change. I've seen so many lives completely destroyed from alcohol. I never had a personality issue. I was never a mean drunk, but I've known people that are, and they've had destroyed relationships. When I was a firefighter paramedic, I ran so many DUI calls that people's lives were completely destroyed from alcohol. So as a whole, I'm not a big fan of alcohol. With that being said, I do think, if you don't struggle with alcoholism, you can use it in moderation. But if you are trying to, go pro in bodybuilding, I would recommend cutting it out. You got to think, is it taking you closer to your goal, or is it taking you back, away from your goal? Is it taking you 2 steps forward, 2 steps back? Alcohol is definitely taking you 2 steps back. There's no benefits to drinking. Yeah, you can argue that, you have fun, you like catching the buzz, all of that, but there's no actually benefits to drinking. It's a poison to the body. So, I hold no judgment on people that like to drink. I was there too. But, for most people out there, most athletes out there, I do recommend cutting it out or minimizing it as best as you can. And if you are drinking right now and you cut it out, you will see your physique improve. So now with weed. I had taken a couple hits here or there throughout the years, but it wasn't really until COVID that I started really smoking regularly. So when COVID happened, I was already kind of having some sleep issues. And, I had some neighbors that, they had kids, and they said, that this pen, had really helped them. So I started smoking the pen right before bed, and it knocked me out. It immediately improved my sleep. Or at least it put me to sleep. So the pen, I, used that for a few months, and that turned into me getting on flour and smoking out of a pipe, and that turned into smoking out of a bong. And it got to where, I would essentially get back from working out and I'd smoke. And I immediately saw benefit from that. I was, getting back where you're going in and you're crushing in the gym. You're really, really amped up. I would get back, smoke, and immediately I'd come down. My cortisol levels would decrease. So it was really helping with recovery. And then it was putting me to sleep. That then turned into me smoking throughout the day. I was never really completely just blitzed out of my mind. I hated being just that high, but I liked having, light high throughout the entire day. And I loved being high going into the gym. The mind-muscle connection was insane, all of that. But I quickly realized that, or not quickly, I did end up realizing, now that I'm kind of on the other side of it, that it wasn't making me lazy, but it was professionally making me slower. So I'm constantly going, whether it's, on the phone with clients, working with client plans, obviously my own bodybuilding, doing cardio, whatever it is, I'm constantly working. And it didn't make me lazy. I was still hitting all the tasks, but I was much slower, much less productive. And so I also realized, and this is a big point, that I was starting to develop anxiety. I never really had anxiety in my entire life. And the last 6 months of when I was smoking, I started really getting anxiety. And I know people that have anxiety and smoking actually helps. That was not what was happening with me. It's kind of the opposite. And I would go on vacations and stuff where I didn't have weed, and the anxiety went away. So over the last few months, or a few months ago, the smoking really, really dwindled down to where I was only having maybe a hit or here or there throughout the week. And then, eventually I cut it out a few months ago. And I can tell you, my productivity has gone through the roof. Sleep. So I'm sure you've heard, if you're really big into smoking, I'm sure you've heard that, it does inhibit you going into deep sleep. I can tell you personally, it did. I tracked it on apps. And then also, the entire years that I was smoking, my dreams kind of went away, or they were very, very light. Ever since I stopped smoking, it's like watching a movie every single time I go to bed. My dreams are insanely vivid. I'm going into that deep, restful sleep, waking up so much more rested. And then also, I'm so much more productive throughout the day. So on the bodybuilding side, I know so many pros that utilize weed really regularly, and I do think you can have benefits from it. So I don't have as strict of a view on weed as I do alcohol, but on the productivity side, if you are trying to have some pretty big goals in life, especially on the kind of more successful and more, instead of just like lifting weights, you should analyze how much you're smoking. If you're taking a hit here or there, no biggie. But if you're the type of person that was like me, that I was smoking every day and throughout the day, you should analyze yourself, because your productivity most likely is down. And it's the same thing. Is it taking you 2 steps forward towards your goal? Is it taking you 2 steps back? And for me, it was taking me 2 steps back. So, I've been completely sober for the last few months. I haven't had alcohol in years, but I've not even smoked weed in months, and I love it. Everything is, relationships are better. My productivity is through the roof. My lifts are better. My breathing is better. Like, literally everything's better since I've been sober. I'm just enjoying day to day too. So, with both of these substances, and really any substance you use, whether you want to admit it or not, we're all looking, for escape from sober reality. So, if you're a type of person that is using one of these substances, these mind-altering substances every day, there's probably a deeper issue that you're trying to escape reality. Is it a finance issue? Is it anxiety? Is it so many people have different issues, and so you got to really analyze yourself on what it is that you're trying to kind of escape reality from, and deal with that. Once you deal with that, sober reality, in my opinion, is so much better than being high or having a buzz from alcohol. Now, with that being said, if I go over to a friend's house and they're passing a joint, I'm most likely going to take a hit. So I'll probably have a hit here or there throughout the year. I'm not, completely cutting out weed. It's just, for me personally, I'm not smoking at my house anymore. And it's not something I'm doing on a daily or even weekly basis. But with that, I do think, if you are for bodybuilding purposes using weed, you can do it, but it's like everything in moderation. So, are you someone that's doing this throughout the day, every day? Are you someone that's just doing it right after you get done lifting? Are you someone that, just has a hit here or there throughout the week? Because there's a vast difference between all of those types. You can do it in moderation. I think could be completely fine, or even have benefit to your life. But with all these things, look at it, from an analytical perspective. Is it taking you towards your goal, or is it taking you further from your goal? And then also, why are you not wanting to be sober? And I had to do that within myself. And since I've done that, and I've been sober for months now, I love it. But I hope you guys got something out of this. I hold no judgment to anybody that drinks or smokes. I've done both. It's just like everything in moderation, guys. But for bodybuilding purposes, definitely don't drink, in my opinion. And smoking, use in moderation, but it can be done. But for me personally, I love being sober. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button. And I want to be dropping more of these videos, kind of more of the, if you guys know Elliot Holtz, the back in the day where he did the Ask Elliot videos. So if you guys have a video idea, drop it down in the comments down below. Ask me to do a video on it, or send me an Instagram message, or send me an email. Because I want to go ahead and I can expand on topics way easier talking to the camera like this than I can just answering a comment. But I want to be whipping these out for you guys more. So go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be happy, be positive, be powerful, and have a great rest of your day.